Gather round, dads, it's time for a tale. Hand me a book and a warm pint of ale. Let's discuss writing and the literary gods with Dan Roberts on the Dad Lit Pod.
Welcome to the Dadlit Pod, the literary podcast for people who probably have not read The Nobodies by Alanna Schubach. Unless you're Richard Leese, who pointed me to Alana's work.
Yes, thank
Uh,
you to him.
yes, Alanna Schubach's debut novel, The Nobodies, was published by Blackstone in June 2022. Her short stories have appeared in the Iowa Review, Shenandoah, the Sewanee Review, the Massachusetts Review, and more. She's attended residencies at the Vermont Studio Center, the Virginia Center for the Creative Arts, and MacDowell. She was named New York City Emerging Writers Fellow with the Center for Fiction in 2019 and a fellow in fiction with the New York Foundation for the Arts in 2015. She earned her MFA in creative writing from Sarah Lawrence College, and she lives in Queens, New York, where she works as a freelance journalist and teaches writing. Alanna, welcome to the Dadlit Pod.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
It's very exciting and very interesting because Richard and I think Richard was trying to start a book club
Yeah.
of sorts of high-minded contemporary authors. And he mentioned you in your book, The Nobodies or Nobodies,
The.
The Nobodies.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, well, if there's going to be a cool um, contemporary authors book club, I want to read the book too. And so going in blind, you kindly sent me the Nobodies, and I read it, and I discovered it's not Dadlet.
Mm. No, not really.
Which to be honest, presented an interesting moment because I was like, well, do I tell Alana it's not Dadlet? She
You thought
probably
I thought it
knows.
was dad.
She probably knows that it's not
Yeah.
Dadlet. She was probably really confused that I asked her to be on. But no, it was interesting because after now I've been doing this podcast now for a year, and I read a lot of
hmm
Dadlet. And so this was indeed a break from the Dadlet experience.
Okay. Yeah.
And that lent me to think about the themes underlying Dadlit and the themes that underline your book.
hmm
If you just want to give the marketing synopsis of what the Nobodies is about, and then we can
Sure.
we can chat about it.
Sure, sure. So it's the story of two friends, Nina and Jess, who discover as children that they have a unique power. They have the ability to swap bodies, and the book follows them over about 20 years of their friendship and explores the repercussions or implications of this ability. Um,
Mhm.
and so, yeah, there's not a ton of well, there are certainly a number of older men in the
Yeah,
book,
I think
but
it's I would describe it very much as a an exploration of millennial female friendship.
yes, yep,
Which
definitely.
which is an interesting thing because uh and I wrote this down earlier because I was thinking about it. I was thinking about how it was a very different book in that a lot of men's fiction, and particularly contemporary men's millennial fiction, is about self-actualization,
Mm,
whereas your book is about relationship and consequences,
hmm
which I thought was very interesting.
Yeah.
Uh,
That is an interesting distinction.
and to that extent, it's not particularly it's when men write about relationships, they tend to write about them as romantic or as almost as like constructive friendships.
Hmm.
And in this case, your book presents these two people who are longtime friends as very adversarial.
Yeah.
And it was very new. Well, it wasn't entirely new because I started reading Cat's Eye by she wrote The Handmaid's Tale
Oh, Margaret Atwood.
by Margaret Atwood, which
Hmm.
is along a very similar vein. It's about
Hmm.
childhood friendship between young girls, but it's more about cruelty in those
Hmm.
relationships and
Yeah.
what it produces at the end. And so I was really struck by how different it was in
Yeah.
experience. Would you say that that's because I don't read a lot of women's lit? Would you say that that's um, an element of women's fiction that I'm missing out on, or that that is just a commonality, or just something that you've
Hmm.
chosen to do?
Well, two books about female friendship that come to mind and that
Hmm.
really informed my writing definitely do have those elements. One of them is Sula by Toni Morrison, and the other is the Neapolitan novels by Elena Ferrante. And both, well, the latter is four books really, but you can kind of almost see it as one. But in both, the two female characters at the center are at times very adversarial. And,
Hmm.
I mean, their relationships go through different phases, but it's often pretty fraught.
Hmm.
Um, I can't speak to like more broadly than that. I'm not I'm sure there are stories of I'm sure there's plenty of stories of friendship where it's not quite as fraught as that, but those were definitely front of mind when I was working on my story, and that was an element that I very much wanted to be present in my work as well.
Yeah, it's interesting. It almost reminds me of Stanley Kubrick's movie, The Duelists.
I haven't seen that one.
It basically throughout it's generational because it's about the generation that serves under Napoleon.
Hmm.
And it's these two people or two men who keep coming into contact with each other at different points trying to resolve a duel.
Yeah,
And
that
and
sounds great.
it may sound a little odd to compare that to this book, but in a lot of ways what the story you tell is almost a millennial generational tale
Hmm.
of two individuals who sort of pop in and out of each other's lives and challenge each other.
Yeah, yeah,
uh,
absolutely.
and that's a very that's an interesting concept for a novel, and an interesting way to sort of like look at the way friendships sort of weave in and out of our lives.
Yeah.
What did, did you or were you inspired personally by this novel, or was it is it a inspired by journeys that you've taken as a person? I imagine you're a millennial like myself.
Yes, an elder millennial
Yes,
specifically. Yes.
analog
Yes,
millennial.
yes.
Yes,
I remember times before the internet.
yes.
Um yeah, definitely. It's not just one friendship, but many different friendships that I've
Mhm.
had starting from a really young age. I mean, I would say today my friendships are much more peaceful and supportive and, um
They're not trying to take over your body so that they can do
no.
horrible things to you.
Right, not trying to like invade each other's lives or anything like that. Um, but yeah, I mean, so I think friendships. especially between girls when they're young, can be really intense.
Yes.
And so I was interested in capturing that and specifically in trying to capture envy and possessiveness. And because I think, I don't know, those emotions are really just like things that you tangle with when you're a young woman, I
Yeah,
think.
they're complicated too.
It's complicated, and I don't know if it has to do with competition for male attention, I think is part of it. I think that's one aspect of it. But
Do
you
you
know,
think women see when you talk about envy and these things, um, do they see it as sort of a zero sum game? I know your
mm,
characters see it as a zero sum game.
yeah,
You know, um,
yeah. I think it can feel that way when you're young.
yeah.
Um, and I also think, the characters are coming of age in the 90s, and it was definitely a different climate in terms of just gender relations and views of women and how girls should look and behave. And, this was like the age of like heroin chic and just ideas of beauty and
Yeah,
and all of that. It was really pretty brutal. Not that it's like amazing now, but I think, it's just different.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I definitely remember like that pressure at the
Hmm.
time, and it just kind of, yeah, it did kind of feel like, well, if one girl is getting a certain kind of attention, that's it. There's nothing left for you or something.
Yeah.
Um, but the girls in the book too, they're also seeing in each other things that they want in terms of like family
Hmm.
and in terms of just like aspects of their personality. Like Nina is really in awe of Jess's kind of more liberated personality. She's really bold and just kind of
Hmm.
goes for what she wants and doesn't seem to suffer from much self-consciousness, whereas Nina is so, incredibly in her own head. So, and then Jess looks at Nina and sees a much more stable life. And so they both think that the other girl has something that they're lacking. And so I don't know if that's like particular to really any time. I think
Hmm.
that just happens whenever you're growing up, right? Like, and you're
Yeah.
trying to figure out who you are and who you want to be.
Hmm. It's it's fun that you got to write about it, or or that we as millennials got that sort of perspective pre-internet age, if that
Hmm.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Like the idea, I often talk about the idea that the material envy in American society today,
Hmm.
uh, and the sort of urges around it are really magnified by the fact that we can see
Oh yeah.
anywhere, everywhere, all at once,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That we can. I mean, it's all a farce, obviously.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
no one's watching the other people use the bathroom or wash their dishes or anything like
Right.
that. What we're
Right.
seeing is an idealized version
Extremely
of
curated.
extremely curated,
Yeah.
extremely idealized version, to the point where that sort of idea of envy almost had to be, in your book, personal. It had to
Yeah.
be constructed in within a friendship. It
Yeah.
had to be sort of seen and felt
Yeah.
in that sort of way. Where now it's sort of ubiquitous
Right.
as a digital four. Yeah.
I thank God I came of age when I did. I can't imagine
It's so great.
being a
It's
teenager
so
now.
great.
Ugh.
I well, there are some funny, there are obviously some funny things because you and I are contemporaries, and I think I've met these two people that you
Hmm.
wrote this book about. I know them.
Hmm.
It was always so weird um to watch my friends who were women. um, sell everything and move to a foreign country or
Hmm.
move to another state with like a guy. And
Yeah.
I'd be like, I don't, I mean, like, he's nice, but have you thought about it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, you don't have a lot of money and it's expensive to move. And, you spent a lot of time getting this furniture for this
Hmm.
apartment.
Hmm.
And, I don't think this is a good idea, but alas, it just always happens.
Yeah.
Do you think that's something all young ladies have to
Well,
go
I was gonna
through?
say, don't guys ever follow a girl across the country? Doesn't that happen?
Yeah, but they never get through the door, right?
Uh-huh.
They'll follow a girl across the country
Yeah.
and they will find her um usually find her well or happily ensconced.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And
Okay.
the reflection upon that happily ensconced and the reflecting upon what was sort of surrendered and the
Hmm.
lack of his friends and all of those things
Yeah.
will immediately precipitate uh, a kind of like a downfall of the
I see.
relationship.
Okay.
Every time I've seen it, it's like, yeah, I got out to California. I couldn't make any friends.
Hmm.
She had all these people at work. I had a really hard time finding a job.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, um, and then it's like, so I came home. I didn't
Hmm.
have any money. You
Hmm.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and I've heard that tale so many times, and it's interesting
Hmm.
because when you've watched it happen like 5 or 6 times, you almost wish you could convince them that this time it's not going to be different.
Right. Right. But they have to find out. They have to find out for themselves. I mean, yeah, there's so many things like that, right? Where from the
Yeah.
outside you have clarity, and but the person in it, it's going to take them a long time to achieve that.
Yes. Yeah.
I think
Did
maybe
you have this
women,
happen to you?
well, kind of. I mean, I did live in Japan for 3 years.
Yeah, I assumed that's why you wrote about
Yeah,
Japan and
yeah.
yeah.
I think women. I mean, I don't know. At least women I've known, a number of women I've known, who are like amazing, brilliant, funny,
Oh
beautiful,
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Um, find guys who, have some wonderful qualities, but are in some ways like not quite together or whatever. And um, I think sometimes we believe we're gonna fix them up, or
Yeah.
they're like projects, right? They're like
Yeah.
projects. And maybe we're not like totally honest with ourselves about the likelihood of, our like them getting fixed up. I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, which
Well,
is
I
which is
think
like a mild, I mean, I don't know. And the guy in my book is it's worse than he's not he's worse than a fixer-upper. He's a real disaster. But
yes.
but she
Indeed.
falls in love, and like, I don't know, when you're young, like, haven't we all had that experience when we're young
Oh, yes,
and you're
certainly.
just like overlooking huge things.
Yes.
You're able to tell yourself that it's like somehow all gonna work out, because the
Yeah.
feelings are really powerful, and
I
yeah.
think I think I think my personal painful caution often prevented it didn't prevent me from getting my heart broken.
Mm-hmm.
But it certainly prevented me from chasing
Mm.
chasing love versus chasing money. Like
Right.
I'd follow a job somewhere,
Right.
but I would not I would there was nothing that was going to convince me in my 20s. Uh I suppose I'm a failed romantic.
Oh.
But this is a stressful aspect of any relationship, right?
Yeah.
Is the sort of idea that one comes around to feeling comfortable limiting professional options
Hmm.
or limiting places they might want to go or things that they might want to do
Yeah.
to be with other people.
Yeah.
Of course, this is juxtaposed against um, what I think is another interesting part of your book, which is boomer self-actualization and the sort
Hmm.
of the idea that parents of millennials just had this weird concept of themselves that it's like, well, I got to be me.
Yeah. Yeah.
this
Right.
family this family doesn't exist. I got to be me,
Yeah.
and I think that's interesting too.
Yeah.
And that shows up in a lot of millennial fiction.
The boom, like their parents, the
Oh yeah,
boomers.
the
Yeah.
boomers. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. The boomer self-actualization
Yeah.
followed by the this sort of millennial um contending with the sort of relationship discontent or the lack the inability to communicate and commit in that way
Yeah.
has become a real
Yeah.
is a thing that I read in a lot of millennial novels.
Do you think it's economic factors? I mean, like the
I,
boomers being this uniquely sort of fortunate
yeah,
generation.
I mean they sort of got to chase they were told to sort of chase their dreams,
Yeah.
and then they told millennials to chase their dreams, but there was no money left.
Right, right, exactly, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I know. I mean, like when I went to grad school and I got my MFA, I was really, really young. I went straight out of college. I was
Yeah.
21 when I started the program. And so I did two years of an MFA and then I graduated and I was like, okay, the world's just been waiting for me, you know? And it
Oh
was
yeah,
like
no.
and then like 2008 the financial crisis hit
This
and
same. Yep.
oh, you can't just like, you know, chase your dreams and be whatever you want to be, actually.
Oh yes. I had
So
people
yeah.
tell me that I should go and offer to do things for free. And then I was like, oh man, that was before we have what we have now, which is like the
Hmm.
social media influencer thing
Right.
where you can make a podcast and you can
Yeah.
try and do that and it's relatively cheap. I think it's entirely possible now to like sort of forge your own career in that way
Yeah.
while working tables
Yeah.
or working in a restaurant. Back then, that was not the case.
Yeah.
There was no sort of open pipeline to that kind of prolific social engagement.
Yeah. No, not I mean not around the time of the financial crisis.
Yeah.
You
And then
know,
of
yeah.
course I bring this up because you have the Nobodies as a reference to your two characters who put
Hmm.
on sort of an early podcast
Yeah.
and in I would call it like I forgot it just a dynamic exploration of humanity. It's sort of like
Yeah.
People of New York or
That's exactly what I was thinking of.
yeah,
The
yeah.
humans of New York.
Humans of
Yeah.
New York.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Which was like new and novel, and now everyone would be like, ugh.
Is
So
it, I wonder, is he still doing it? It was
I
really
don't even
big for a
know if
while.
he's still
Yeah.
doing it.
I
Yeah.
don't know how he would stand out at this
He
point,
he
but
was one of those guys. It was like the other one was Stuff White People Like
yes.
was the other
Yes.
website
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
everyone had to read because it was
Yeah.
funny and interesting and sort of charming and referential.
Right. It
And
was like a much less crowded field for that sort of thing.
yeah, now it's so saturated
Yeah.
with stuff that virality as we see it, I think tends to last a lot less.
Yeah.
And and it tends to be a little more nasty.
Yeah, yeah, agreed.
So this is all to say that the dad literati listening, this is an interesting book if you're a millennial and you want to think about all these elements of what we've commandeered or survived at this point.
Yeah, I think maybe we're the greatest generation.
I'm
We've
not gonna
survived
go
a
that
lot.
far. We do a
Yeah, I
lot
don't
of
know.
we do a lot of whining.
We do, yeah. No, it's true. But like, I mean, I don't know. I'm Jewish, like that's we fetch. That's how we deal, you
Yeah,
know? It's
same,
just
same.
like
Yeah.
um but yeah, I hope some of the dads listening will be interested because I feel like most of the readers have been women because they see it's a book about women and female
Yes.
friendship and I feel like it's been pigeonholed a little bit. I wouldn't call it like I know that there's the categories. It used to be chick lit. They don't say that anymore. Now they say women's fiction.
Yeah, women's
But
fiction.
I would love to have some male
Well,
readers
I'm
too.
gonna be honest. Compared to the quote unquote chick lit that my wife consumes, this is a lot more sophisticated.
Oh, thank you.
It's not part of the. It's not part of the. What do you call it? The fan fiction to romantasy
A
pipeline.
romantasy, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like I have consumed so much, media that is targeted primarily toward men, right? Which is
Yeah.
like it's just because, that's I think that's sort of been positioned as the default.
Hmm.
And I always find plenty in there that I can connect with, even if it's like a
Hmm.
really male story, because there's
Well,
always
what
like
would you say is an example of a work that you would call dad lit that you really connected with?
oh, I just finished reading Lonesome Dove.
Oh, that's huge now. I
It's
that there was a
huge.
there it was huge. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, they're not, well, there are fathers in that book.
Yes.
But it's not really a dad. I mean, it's much more
Yeah, but it's
friendship,
a
companionship. But it's like very dudes. There's,
yeah, it's dudes. Yeah.
yeah, it's a lot of dudes hanging out together. But apparently it's really big on TikTok, on Book Talk
Oh yeah, no, it
with
exploded.
young women,
Yeah.
which is having read it, I understand it. I understand that.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
explain it to me. Why do you think that young women today would find Lonesome Dove, which is a Western of Westerns,
yeah.
really, so engaging and so suitable to their what they're looking for in books?
Well, I think it's really sharp about American masculinity. I don't think it's a simple like presentation of it or holding it up as uh an ideal. I think it's really insightful about it.
Hmm.
And something I was struck by is that, I guess my image of like the archetypal, sort of cowboy is very, very stoic and tough and whatever. And the male characters in this book are actually quite like emotional, and you go r- deep into their perspectives, and there's a lot there that's like really endearing and kind of surprisingly tender at times. And then of course you also have like brutality that you expect from a Western.
Yeah.
So it kind of is it contains just so much. I mean, it's almost 900 pages, right? So,
Yeah, yeah,
um,
there's a lot there.
but I think you just like it. The character development's amazing, and you just get so close to these people, and it is just about characters and their relationships and their
Hmm.
kind of search for like they're looking for a sense of purpose, right? And I don't know. I think anyone can connect with that. And then
Hmm.
there are some female characters, and I do think probably the character who is like the true voice of reason and the sharpest one of all is Clara.
Hmm.
Is a female character. She kind of sees through the two main male characters, their whole shtick, and cuts them down to size, both of them. And so, yeah, I think women probably like that too.
Hmm. And so Lonesome Dove, of course, there was I want to say it wasn't in the New Yorker, but they were talking about how it's taken off
Yeah.
on Book Talk. That's
Yeah.
really interesting. What
Yeah.
is there any other dad lit that that you think is going to make a surging comeback?
I don't know, again, I don't know if this is dad lit. I'm
Hmm.
just thinking of books written by men with like male leads that are have some, well, this is also a Western, True Grit.
Oh yeah, True Grit.
I think True
Well,
Grit
that's True Grit's almost everybody's favorite book.
yeah, it's so good. I mean, it is a sort of a paternal relationship, but of course the narrator is a young woman, or no,
Yeah,
she's
yeah.
looking back as an older woman. Trying to think of what else I've, well, tell me, what are some dad lit classics? Because I'm not sure I even know the criteria.
So dad lit as defined by the new genre that we created on the podcast and it has been joined by the dad literati is books written by about or for dads.
Hmm.
You can understand where the Nobodies would not qualify as dad lit.
No, no.
No.
Maybe it's like daughter lit or something.
Yeah, it's more like daughter lit.
Yeah.
Or estranged
Strange daughter
estranged
lit.
daughter lit.
Yeah.
Uh and so some of the great um dad lit uh, books are like Old Yeller, for example.
Okay.
I mean, Old Yeller's like a classic work
Yeah.
of dad lit.
Yeah.
Stuff by Tom Clancy,
Oh, sure. Yeah.
the 60s sci-fi authors,
Yeah.
the Tom Wolfe is basically a dad
Okay.
lit author.
Hmm.
And from women's author perspective, there are female dad-led authors.
Hmm.
I think Taffy Broder-Ackner with
Hmm.
Fleischman's in Trouble.
Okay.
Fleischman's in
Okay.
Trouble is a terrific work of dad-led.
Yeah.
It's a complete sort of exploration of of a father going through a
Hmm.
divorce, but told from the perspective of his watching friend,
Okay.
which I think is I love that book and
Yeah.
I'm sort of obsessed with it.
I haven't read, I need to read
I,
it.
I
I need to
love
read
it.
it.
I love it.
Yeah.
And then another really interesting example of a woman who writes dadlit is Lionel Shriver.
Oh, okay.
Obviously, Kevin we need
We
to
need to
talk
talk about
about
Kevin.
we need to talk about Kevin is not dad lit, but all of her
Yeah.
other books are dad lit.
That's fascinating. I didn't know that. Wow, that's really interesting.
She's become sort of a she's developed a bit of a reactionary tinge,
Hmm.
which is
Yes, she
interesting
has.
to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which has and that is very intriguing. Uh
She is a provocateur,
yes.
which my politics are different from hers, but I do kind of have grudging respect for the provocateurs, like
Well,
they keep
yeah,
things interesting.
she is articulate in her values and what got her there. And I
Yeah.
think she's such an interesting person because of course she like the only person I've ever heard that went to Ireland during the
Hmm.
Troubles. Like
Just like,
um
sounds great.
it sounds okay.
That's amazing.
and I think a lot of that actually frames
Yeah.
her contemporary politics, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Interesting.
Um, and she talks about that a lot. I've read a lot of her recent um, stuff, and so I it Dad Lit is sort of best to be understood as an area or a literary genre that dads can really sink their teeth into and really see
Mm-hmm.
themselves in and
Mm-hmm.
that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to that extent,
Yeah.
that's where the podcast comes from.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
And I realized I was writing dad lit.
Okay.
And now I realize that a lot of adult men are writing dad lit.
Right. Right.
Yes.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. I
Yes.
feel like, because I keep hearing so much about men not reading.
Yeah,
And not
that's
writing either, that men are not
yeah.
reading and not writing. And maybe it's overblown. I mean, I know a lot of men who read, but I
I
don't know.
think
Yeah.
well, I don't know. What is your observation? You obviously are in Queens, New York.
Yes.
You come from a Jewish family,
Hmm.
as do I. This is a thing that I've talked about on the podcast. Jewish families center reading.
Yeah.
It's that's the reality.
Hmm.
We center reading. It is a person demonstrates value within the family and personal esteem by being informed and being
Mm.
and reading and
Hmm.
being engaged. And so to that extent, yeah, my friends read too.
Yeah. I mean, I'm
So
sure we're
yeah,
in, you know, specific kinds of social circles, right? As
yeah, yeah,
as writers and readers, like we're going to be around people who enjoy that.
yeah.
Um,
So do you have a dad in your house?
I'm my husband. Is
Yeah,
that
well,
what you
that's
mean?
what
Yeah.
I'm talking about. Yes.
Yeah. Yes, we have a 3-year-old. So there is a
Oh,
dad in my house.
congratulations. Yes.
Thank
And what
you.
does he read?
He reads mostly nonfiction, actually.
That's
Yeah.
what most men read.
That's what
Yeah.
most men read. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did force him to start reading Lonesome Dove. I was like, you're gonna love it. Um, when he reads fiction, he reads a lot of sci-fi.
Oh, okay.
So he was just reading the Three Body Problem books,
Yeah.
and he was reading the book that became The Expanse, the TV show. I think it's also called The
Yeah,
Expanse.
yeah. That's very hot.
He likes Philip K. Dick. But yeah, I mean, he also likes just random, like he likes Borges. I don't know. It's kind of eclectic.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. For men, like, well, I think fewer people are reading in general, right? Like
Yes.
everybody's reading. Everyone's reading less. Um,
I would say that um everyone is reading all the time.
yeah, right,
Everyone is reading narrative fiction none of the time.
right, right. Yeah, we're
Yes.
reading
Yes.
like the streams of garbage that come into our phones, like right,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And so maybe
And
there's like exhaustion with it. Uh,
I think
Yeah,
that's a big part of it, to be perfectly honest. I think
yeah.
that figures in. Also, there's competition for
Hmm.
eyeballs,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Why do you think it has affected men so much more drastically than it's
It's a good
affected
question.
women?
It's a good question. I don't know if there's that much. I mean, maybe there's not as much contemporary fiction for them,
Yeah, yeah.
Like
Well, this is one of the arguments and one that I subscribe to, which is
I
that
think it's true.
yeah, yeah, that contemporary fiction does not really cater to them.
No, I
Yes.
don't, yeah, I think that's true. But I think it's also what you're saying about competing um sort of drains on attention.
Yes.
And I was just writing about this. I'm working on an essay about young adult literature. I mean,
Hmm.
kind of a mean critique of
Well,
the
kids
the
can't read, so
no, but
that's
it's mostly adults reading. It's mostly adults reading young adult
oh
literature. And
yeah, yeah.
so I think there's also been like an infantilization, um, particularly maybe for our generation in particular.
Hmm.
If you think about it, adults are reading YA and they're going to superhero movies and they're playing video games and they're,
Hmm.
like there's Disney adults. Adults play with Legos, which I just read an essay about that I was
Hmm.
like blew my mind. Um, it's like I don't know if people are maybe also yeah, movies there I feel like there aren't really that many great like R-rated movies for grown-ups that get made anymore, you know? So it just feels like across media there's less kind of like sophisticated material to really dig your teeth into.
Yeah, I
I don't
think
know.
I don't know. I was reading because I wrote a thriller
Hmm.
and I was doing research for like other thrillers because my thriller knowledge usually comes from like Tom Clancy, techno
Hmm.
thrillers. And you cannot write a techno thriller in contemporary America because it's too long, and they won't
Uh-huh.
publish it.
Oh wow.
There's no way you're going to get like 160,000 word techno thriller
Right.
published until late in one's career.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
started reading these sort of kind of like throwaway women's thrillers,
Hmm.
and I was like, wow, this is written in a very straightforward way in first person,
Hmm.
and this is going to be a plot one. This is going to
Yeah.
be about plot.
Yeah.
I'm going to be trying to chase what the plot to this is. And I'm thinking specifically of the woman in Cabin 10, which
Okay.
my wife bought, and it was just on the shelf. And I'm just reading this, and I'm like, this is really unreadable.
Mm.
That's,
Yeah. Yeah.
I had a really hard
I don't know.
time.
I don't know that one, but yeah. Like
Yes. So it's interesting that you say that things have sort of gotten dumbed down. What's the solution to that, though?
man, I mean, I think one possibility, which isn't going to happen
Hmm.
anytime soon, but I
Hmm.
think something that would help is if there were more robust state support for the arts. Because I think, if you look at the European countries where there is so much federal funding for the
Hmm.
arts, including literature, you know,
But
like
you don't think that would be corruptive to the process? I mean,
no.
I think so I've heard this argument, and actually John Duffy, who's an independent publisher who publishes literary fiction, has made
Hmm.
this argument that there needs to be sort of in order for like challenging and thoughtful literary works
Hmm.
to be produced, there needs to be almost a source of funding outside of mainstream uh, publishing houses.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
And
so.
and part of the reason why I'm not sure that would work, and definitely gonna hear your full uh, pitch on this, is that publishing is already an ESG industry
Hmm.
because librarians do most of the buying,
Hmm.
and librarians are basically the tastemakers because they're doing the
Hmm.
mass buying, particularly from the major publishers. Not necessarily from the independent publishers, but
Yeah.
certainly from the major publishers. The influence of libraries and what
Yeah.
libraries are interested in. And one of the reasons why we've got so many YA books and so many kids' books being pumped out, and why those books get big payouts, is because librarians are putting them into the hands of high school kids,
Hmm.
and and they have them like available.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
I wonder like if that isn't in and of itself a government subsidy for certain types of books or certain books with certain themes.
That's interesting. I feel like, but aren't the librarians sort of the last in a line? I mean, to me, it's like, what are the agents? What are agents looking for, right?
Yeah,
What are publishers willing to take a chance on?
yeah.
And then what is the publicity and marketing departments throwing all their weight behind?
Hmm.
So I feel like all that's coming before. the librarians are like, okay, here are my options,
Yeah.
right? But they're kind of at the end of this long
Yeah, but
line.
the publishers in this case are making the metric or the algorithmic decision
Yeah.
based on what's selling. And
Yeah.
their major sellers are schools
Yeah.
and libraries. Uh,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
if they can have like the book that's gonna the next book that's gonna get the kids reading again,
Hmm.
or the book that says something that is socially important, or the book
Yeah.
that's going to be the one that can almost serve like as a step up for young people. That book is going to get pitched,
Hmm.
from an ESG perspective
Hmm.
versus from a literary meaning perspective, if
Right.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
But I hear what you're saying,
Yeah.
that you know that funding and 501(c)(3)s and nonprofits and possible state funding are also a source. I just wonder which is more um well, looking at our contemporary situation,
Yeah. I mean,
how
because
how
I just,
that could
well,
be.
because I want to say like, well, we've got to like make the choice to do this or that or whatever. But that's like
Yes.
to me, that's very like pull yourself up by your bootstraps, right? And so I think like there also needs to be some top down
I think,
change.
yeah.
And I just think about things like during one of the New Deal programs, the Federal Writers Project, where they
Hmm.
just basically paid writers to go they wrote all kinds of like interesting state histories, and they took down oral histories from people, and they wrote about like state parks, and they and that was supporting writers like Zora Neale Hurston, right?
Hmm.
So some people like who went on to create incredible literature, but they needed a
Yeah.
livelihood um that was not driven purely by you know
Hmm.
like write a
Yes.
blockbuster.
And
So I just
yes.
wonder, like, what if we had something like that today? What would that look like? And
Well, I mean,
um,
I think it would have been nice if, for example, George Lucas, instead of, you know, building a giant monument to when he wrote narrative storytelling, he
hmm
builds this gigantic museum of narrative storytelling.
hmm
I mean, I don't understand why billionaires like Spielberg, for example, or George Lucas, or these people who have been in these, who have benefited from an era where media worked differently
hmm
and where that sort of like mega stardom could take place. It surprises me that they themselves haven't funded projects. Like,
yeah,
why is it that Ben Affleck and Matt Damon are doing Project Greenlight and
right,
Steven Spielberg isn't doing Project Greenlight?
right.
You know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
It sort of shocks me, and most recently James Patterson came out with a grant, but it
Hmm.
was like 50 grand, and you think, well, 50 grand, a dad with two kids and a full-time job, even if he gets that grant,
Yeah, you're not quitting your job. You're
you're not
not quitting your
quitting your
job to right.
job.
No, no.
Yeah,
True. Yeah,
and it, I mean, maybe you can pay for the kids to go somewhere for a
yeah,
week, but in truth, your ability to go out and write the great American novel is still going to be defined by managing your family
yeah,
in that way. So,
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I just think about, in some of the European, I mean, I know in Germany and some of the Nordic countries, like
mhm.
unfathomable to me. Like I don't want to. I want to make sure I have my facts right, so I don't want to just make things up. But they will essentially be paying like a salary to working artists, and I think there are expectations that you're producing certain things, but they're they're making it possible for you to like live and do your art, right? And it's just like hard to imagine anything even close to that here. So I feel like
Mhm.
we could at least give it a shot at maybe not that, but just more grants. When I was younger, I got this grant from the New York Foundation for the Arts, and it was not massive. It was $7,000 of unrestricted, no strings attached. And
Mhm.
it actually did make a pretty big difference for me at the time because I was like juggling five different freelance gigs. And it gave me just like that tiny little bit of wiggle room for a few months that I got to work on some of my writing, and focus on that a lot more. And it was meaningful to me. So, you know, I don't, we could try it a little. We might find that, we
Yes.
nurture artists and writers a little bit more, and there might be some more interesting things created. Now, of course, like audiences would have to seek it out, right? You like I
Yes.
because as you're saying, the stuff that's going to be in the libraries or on the front display tables and bookstores,
Mhm.
those are going to be the sure thing, right?
Yes.
So you still need people who are willing to look for the stuff that's like a little different or a little avant-garde or a little more literary or whatever. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. There it's the problem is multi-pronged.
Yeah.
The sort of dissent is it's both a consumer issue and a producer issue.
Yeah.
Um, I think that it's also a market issue because
Hmm.
there are questions of quality
Yeah.
that are constantly coming up.
And now there's going to
And
be questions of authenticity because of AI, and people are
oh my
already
God, it's
people are
so
so
miserable.
suspicious, understandably. Um, but I mean, I think, like the internet, everyone's attention span is shot. It's so many different things, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So so to that extent, um, you're an instructor.
Yeah.
You teach journalism. How are
I,
you
t I teach
continuing?
mostly creative writing. I do
Oh,
teach
creative
some,
writing.
yeah, I teach mostly fiction. I do teach some essay and opinion writing as well,
Hmm.
but primarily fiction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what is the thing that you're telling your students to do to magnify their work, to keep the attention, and to compete against all of these forces?
I don't know if I know how to teach them how to be competitive because I don't know how to be competitive. I mean, I'm struggling too. So, to get my work out there, it's a
Yeah.
struggle. So, but I will say there sure are a lot of people interested in writing. My classes are always
Oh
full.
yeah. Oh yeah.
A lot of people want to write and want to be writers. So that
What's what's
seems
the what's the main impetus for getting into it?
they
Because it's not the money.
they have something I don't know. They have something to say. They have something to say.
Yeah.
Um, they want to stretch themselves. They want to try something different.
Hmm.
They like reading, they like literature, they like stories, they want to tell their own. Um, they want to tap into that, childlike part of them that likes to imagine and explore. It's really lovely. And my students are all ages because I teach adult classes. I have students in
Hmm.
their 20s up through retirees. Um, So, I mean, I just tell them like beyond whatever I can teach them about like the craft of writing and what we can learn from reading great writers. I just say like you have to read a lot and write a lot. That's
Hmm.
that's the main thing. And so
Yeah.
I try to push, and sometimes they want to be writers, but they're not reading that much. And I'm like, you guys have to be reading a lot to do this, you know? Like
That is certainly true. That is almost definitely true. Yeah, that's well, I don't envy you.
It's fun. No, I love it. I
Oh,
I think
do
it's yeah,
you?
I love it. I love teaching. I love reading their work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is when you're reading a book, because I've been thinking about this a lot, and I've been thinking about, and I think we'll we'll have this be the co- co- you know end of the episode. But
Hmm.
when you read a book, what draws you in that opening and sells the book for you?
That's a lot of it's a lot of different things. But I
Okay.
think one thing is I need to feel like I'm in good hands.
Hmm.
So that's really hard to explain what I mean by that concretely. But just
Yes.
that like I'm in good hands with this writer.
Hmm.
Um, there's a confidence, I guess. They
I get.
know they
Yeah.
know what they have to say, like they know the story they're telling. Um, some just a feeling. I get that feeling or I don't. Um, Underlying ideas are really important, like what's beneath the surface.
Hmm.
Like whatever the sequence of events is in the story, like what is under the surface, what questions are being asked or what ideas are being explored, um,
Yes,
is
you
really
want to
important.
think. You want
Yeah,
to, yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Um, I mean, use of language, and I don't have like only one that I'm drawn to, like it doesn't
Hmm.
have to be really necessarily lush, beautiful sentences, although I love that. But I also enjoy reading, much more spare, kind of distilled work. But I think it is again that like I'm in good hands. The writer is
Hmm.
in control. Um, they've made decisions with intentions. It's not nothing's randomly thrown in there.
Hmm.
So it's kind of thoughtfulness. And yeah, I think those are the important things. And so I end up really loving like a wide range of books because there's so many ways that I can get that feeling from a
I,
book.
I do really like that list of things.
Cool.
Yeah, that makes me happy.
What is it for you?
Um, my goodness, I'm reading so much. I too like thinking. I like something to be interesting.
Hmm.
Um, I tend to like an element of mystery.
Hmm.
And beyond that, I also want uh, a sort of uh, feeling of intentionality, like you
Hmm.
described, that the author is not being um, lush with their prose for no reason,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So that if they're going to be lush with their prose, there needs to be a reason for it. For example, I was reading All the Pretty Horses,
Hmm.
and obviously the opening to that has uh, like the longest sentence I've ever
Hmm.
read,
Yeah.
and I know that there's a reason why this sentence, because it's supposed to feel breathless and drawn out and interesting because he's describing being on a horse.
Yeah.
Um, it's different if you're describing what it's like being in a cab.
Right. Yeah. 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 So it's not just the author being like, look what I can do, because there
Yes.
are there are authors that give me that feeling too, where they're like they have an amazing facility with language, but I'm like, okay, your pyrotechnics aren't really doing it for me because
Well, there's no story. I just
yeah.
have, it's like a veneer of a story.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
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 Well, very interesting. Alana, do you want to plug some of your work before we close out?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, so if you go to my website, it's all there. My first novel, The Nobodies, you can buy through all the usual places. I've got some short stories up there that you can read if you're so inclined.
Nice.
I also, I'll plug my services. I do a lot of one-on-one kind of creative writing, mentoring, editing, book doctoring. So, feel free to reach out if that sounds like
Oh,
something you'd be
that's
interested
intriguing.
in. Yeah.
Yeah, reach out to Alanna. She can clearly doctor a book because I've read her novel.
Thank you.
And it's interesting and dynamic. So there you go.
Well, thank you so
Yeah,
much.
that meets all of your qualities for why you'd stay with a book.
I hope
So
so.
yes, yeah, you did a really good job.
Thank you. I
Alana,
appreciate
thank
it.
you so much.
Thanks so much for having me. This was great.
This has been an episode of the Dadlet Pod. Goodbye.
Our time together has come to an end. It's time to return to your wife, kids, and friends. It's time to pick up those books you forgot while you wait for the next Dadlit Pod.